We think of the legal system as this huge engine, right? One designed to deliver justice. But what happens when that engine gets hijacked? When someone uses it not to find the truth, but just to harass someone else? Well, it turns out the courts have this extraordinary tool for that exact situation, a kind of ultimate power to stop a case dead in its tracks. And that's really the big question we're digging into today. The whole journey through the courts, the delays, the costs, the sheer stress of it all, that can sometimes be turned into a weapon. So how does the law actually protect itself from being misused like this as a tool for punishment? All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll talk about why the system needs what I call an emergency brake. Then we'll jump into a really fascinating real-world case between two doctors. After that, we'll get into the weeds of the law itself, Section 482, and see how the court figured out what an abuse of process actually looks like. And finally, we'll talk about the huge balancing act between getting justice and just preventing harassment. Look, any powerful system needs a failsafe, right? And in the legal world, that failsafe is absolutely crucial. It's there to make sure that all the procedures designed to protect people don't get twisted and turned into weapons against them. I mean, think about it. A lawsuit that has zero merit can still drag on for years. Someone can just keep delaying things on purpose, causing this incredible financial and emotional strain. That's not justice. That's what the courts call an abusive process, basically using the system's own rules to punish your opponent. And trust me, the courts are very, very aware this can happen. So to see how this all works in the real world, let's take a look at a really compelling case from 1993. It's Capt. Dr. Harmesh Kumar versus Dr. Nisha Sahi. And this isn't just some dry legal dispute. It's a story that makes this abstract idea of abusive process feel very, very real. Okay, so here's the situation. You've got a married couple, and they're both qualified medical doctors. The wife, Dr. Nisha Sahi, she files for financial maintenance. But the husband, Captain Dr. Harmesh Kumar, he pushes back. He says, look, she doesn't need it, she's a working doctor too, and he argues that this whole case, especially with all its constant delays, is really just a way to harass him. So the whole conflict really boils down to this. On one side, the husband is pointing to her job and her income, saying she completely fails the basic legal test for maintenance, which is being unable to maintain herself. He's also pointing at how the case is being handled, all the constant delays, as proof she's not acting in good faith. On the other side, the wife says, hey, just because I earned some money doesn't mean I'm disqualified. She argues she's entitled to the lifestyle she had during the marriage and that all those delays were totally justified. This is the exact legal puzzle the High Court had to figure out. So how exactly did the husband ask the court to step in? Well, this brings us to the main event, the specific legal tool at the heart of this entire case, this powerhouse provision known as Section 482 of the Criminal Procedure Code. So think of Section 482 as the court's ultimate emergency brake. It's not a power that some new law created. It's basically the law acknowledging the High Court's inherent power to jump in when something is going fundamentally wrong in a lower court. Its entire purpose is to stop the machinery of justice from being used to create injustice. The law gives three really clear reasons for using this power. First, just to make sure existing court orders are actually being followed. Second, and this is the big one for our case, to prevent the legal process itself from being abused. And third, kind of as a broad catch-all, to do whatever is necessary to secure the ends of justice. But, and this is a huge but, this power comes with a massive warning label. Courts have said over and over again that Section 482 is not for everyday use. It has to be used sparingly and with great caution. There's a deep legal reason for that. It's about respecting the other courts and not opening the floodgates to appeals over every little thing. It is reserved only for the most exceptional cases where a clear injustice is happening. Okay, so with this powerful but really rarely used tool in our back pocket, let's jump back to our doctor versus doctor case. How did the High Court take this idea and apply it to the actual facts of their dispute? This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's not enough for the husband to just feel harassed. No, he had to prove to the High Court that this case met that incredibly high bar for them to step in under Section 42. So what exactly did the court look at? The court's decision really stood on two main pillars. First, it looked at the merits of the case itself. And it found that as a qualified working doctor, the wife just didn't fit the legal definition of someone unable to maintain herself. Basically, on the face of it, the claim had no legal legs to stand on from the get-go. And second, the court looked at her conduct. It saw that pattern of constant, needless delays, not as a real legal strategy, but as a deliberate misuse of the court's time and procedures. So, what was the result? The High Court sided with the husband. It decided that the mix of a meritless claim and the procedural games amounted to an abuse of the process of court. And in a really decisive move, it pulled that emergency brake. It invoked Section 482 and quashed, meaning completely canceled, the entire maintenance case. Now, a verdict like this has way bigger implications. It's all about making sure that laws designed to help vulnerable people don't get hijacked and turned into weapons. It's about protecting the integrity of the entire justice system. And this table here illustrates perfectly the delicate tightrope that courts have to walk. So in the first column, you've got Section 125, a vital law meant to protect spouses who are genuinely in need. But then look at the middle column, and you see the potential for misuse. How that same law could be weaponized by someone who is financially independent. And that's where Section 482, in that final column, comes in as the crucial safeguard. It's the balancing mechanism that lets a court step in and say, nope, this is not what this law was made for. So, at the end of the day, the takeaway here is pretty clear. Section 482 is way more than just a legal technicality. It's a powerful statement that the process of seeking justice cannot become a punishment in itself. It's what ensures that the courts stay as a place for legitimate fights, not a playground for harassment. And that really leaves us with this fundamental question. The case of the two doctors, it gives us one answer. A weak claim combined with bad behavior crossed the line. But this is a challenge courts face literally every single day. Trying to figure out where legitimate persistence ends and outright harassment begins, well, that's one of the toughest and most important calls they ever have to make.